Hey y'all, I have come to a bus stop to pick up my grand youngins. Well, Addie and Bryson this afternoon, they ride this bus here. I'm helping my kids out and picking up grandchildren today. And I'm always praying that I can get on here and do more Bible study with y'all. And I do that in the morning when I drink my coffee. And it's sort of my one-on-one time. We need that with God. We really do. We need our one-on-one time. And so, anyway, I'll do it some more. It's been so hot, I didn't want to sit outside with y'all. I didn't want to drag y'all out in the heat, right? But anyway, so praying about it, and it just hit me. I'm waiting here for my kids to get off the bus. I have to be here anywhere like 3:45, 50, all the way to 4:30, because they could show up anytime. So I'm sitting here and I'm like writing out checks or answering a lot of y'all's sweet questions on YouTube and Facebook. So it hit me this morning when I was doing my Bible study. I was like, because I was praying about it again, that I could get on here with y'all. And I was like, oh yes, I can do it then. What a perfect time. I'm silly sometimes. I'm so busy, I can't even think clearly about, hey, that would be a good time, because I always keep a Bible in my vehicle, always. If I'm stuck waiting somewhere, it's a good time to read the Bible, right? But I brought my other Bibles because I love this. This Bible in particular has a verse for every day of the year, and I read over them. I've been doing this for probably 8 years at least out of this Bible, this everyday verse. And today's verse is, let me find it. Children, we've heard this a million times. Obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on earth. That's the part we don't always hear, right? Yes. Ephesians 6, 1-3. And y'all, I have this Bible, and it's awesome for your one-on-one time with God. It's awesome, okay? Let me look up Ephesians 6, 1-3. Is that what I said? Y'all, my mind's all over the place here lately. Seems like the more I'm trying to get things straight in my life, the more they go berserk. Does y'all's go berserk too? Mine does too. All right, Ephesians. I'm a looking. I should have done that before I got on here, but if I got my life straight before I got on here with y'all, I'd never get on here with y'all. Right? Yeah. Here we go. And I'll show y'all why I love this Bible so much, the Fire Bible. And I'll put a link in the description box on YouTube and under the title here on Facebook to get one. If you can't find one locally, Amazon has them. That's where I got mine, because it's a study Bible, and that helps so much when we need to do our one-on-one time with God. You need to be able to do that yourself with God. And so, and hey, if you don't have one of these, what I mean one-on-one time is, I mean prayer and communication with God, okay? That's what I mean. And reading His Word. So if you don't have one of these, get in the other one. But if you have a study Bibles are great. Like my son has a whole other study Bible. It's fantastic, Blake. So, but this one I just love. I got it last year, and I'm reading through it, and it's wonderful. Okay, so Ephesians 6, 6:1. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother. And that's even in the 10 commandments, right? So that's like a core thing to do. This is the first commandment with a promise. This is the part we don't always hear, and I love it. That it may go well with you and that you may live long in the land. And I love that part. And I love this about study Bibles, because it goes on and talks more. And I just want to read that with y'all and share that with y'all, and then we'll just talk some. Normally, children of Christian parents remain under parental guidance until they become part of another family unit through marriage. Small children must be taught to obey and honor their parents through godly training and instructions. That's in Proverbs. Older children, even after marriage, should continue to show respect for their parents' counsel and honor them in old age through care and financial support if needed. And that's in Matthew. Children who honor their parents will be blessed by God here on earth and in eternity. Isn't that wonderful? That gives us a little incentive, doesn't it? I know. And I know that it's not easy for all of us to do that. Sometimes our parents are just like us. They're not perfect people, right? Right? I know. And so we tend to struggle with that sometimes. So I just hope that helps you a little bit today, and in the future. It helps me. It helps me to read that, and it helps me to start out my one-on-one time with God in the morning, because we all have garbage going on in our life, right? And it seems like the more I pray, hey, God, give me time to get on here with y'all and just talk about God and shed God's love and show it. It seems like more just keeps piling on in my life that is not godly. You know, and it's like, you know, that you're in warfare. You know that you're being attacked because of what it's pulling you from. It's pulling me from doing God's work and showing love to y'all. And my thing, Amy's thing is, she just pushes back, okay? And so I'm asking y'all for prayer today too. Y'all all send me so many things. All of us have things in our lives, right? We do, I know. But I'm asking y'all today. It is so sunny out here. I've moved this visor over here. I'm sitting in a parking lot waiting on the bus. The bus brings them closer to us because they're going to school pretty far away. But anyway, I just push back, and I'm like, no, God, no, God. And I have to pray. And I'm really down in the dumps a lot today. I'm very emotional. I've got just been attacked a lot here lately. And Satan knows how to attack me. He attacks me through my children, you know, and through hurting them and causing great turmoil in their lives. And so then it affects me greatly. And I'm Mama Miss Fix It, and that's not necessarily a good thing, you know. So anyway, but I'm just asking y'all for prayer for my family too, okay? You're like, okay, Amy. But yeah, I am. And yeah, if I don't post that Fire Bible link on Amazon, y'all remind me. I'm gonna try real hard to post that, okay? Because I want y'all to get one of those. It's wonderful. It's got lots of not just study notes from scholars about the Bible, but it also has articles in it here and there, and I dearly love the articles. I'll just read a few. The fear of the Lord, effective praying, and the attributes of God, power over Satan and demons. Whoo, I've read that one twice. Right? 3 kinds of people. And it'll be 1 or 2 or even 3 pages of this article, and it's referring to Bible verses. So it can just keep you totally in here, just flipping and turning and this referencing that. It's wonderful. There's also charts in here. So it's very good. It gives you a lot of Hebrew words and tells you the translation, gives you a lot of Greek words and gives you the translation. And I really like that. That's my thing. That's my thing. I love it. So if you don't already have a study Bible, because my son Blake, I asked him, did he want one of these? I think I got him one anyway. But he said, Mama, that other study Bible you got me years ago says all that, you know. So like I say, if you already have one, it's probably great too. But anyway, I just love this one, so I will put a link to it. Yes, I will. It's wonderful. I got it. And let's see, what book am I in the New Testament? Every day I read some in the Old Testament. Then I go to a spot I've got in the New Testament. Each testament, you know, I'm reading through it, some in each every day. And then some days, if I've got the time, I'll also read some Proverbs and some Psalms. And I always read the notes and everything, and it has me referencing here and there, and I'll look that up. And the articles, when I come to them, I read them as well. So right now, I'm in Ephesians, actually. That's where I read that verse this morning from Matthew in the Old Testament. And in the in the New Testament, excuse me. And in the Old Testament, I am, Mama Vic, I got your little, your little marker here in the Old Testament. I'm in 2 Kings. And I love 1st and 2 Kings. And it reads, ooh, ruthlessness, right? And I noticed one thing that's a theme in there. It tells you each king, at one time they split. Instead of having one king in Israel, there's one in Israel and then one in Judah, which is south. And so it lets you know this king and that king and how long they were in office and how they got into their position and then how they died. And so it's very historical, and I love history, and so I like it. But I've noticed a theme through the years. If it's a godly king, he lives many years. And if it's an ungodly king, he usually doesn't last very long in office. So office or in kingship, I'm using a democracy word, right? Office. But yeah, his kingship doesn't usually last very long if he's not a real godly man. But anyway, I'm just glad to talk to y'all for a little bit. This weekend, I'll tell y'all some things I plan on making with y'all. We're going over to Blake's house Saturday evening. We're planning on it. Addie and I are going school clothes shopping tomorrow, just for some fall things. Next week is supposed to be chilly in the morning here in Louisiana, and so we're just going to get her a few long sleeves, and she loves little sweatshirts. And I know that Bryson said he needed some more shirts, so he don't want to go shopping. He just wants us to pick him up some shirts. So we are, and then we're going to go back over to Blake's later, and he has bought 2 older trucks for his sons, Luke and Bryson, and they've begun fixing them up and revamping them and getting them ready for the boys to drive to school when they get their license. They both are turning 15 this year, so it's close, right? So anyway, Luke, his oldest son, is coming over, and they're going to do some working and repairing on his truck. And so I just thought I'd go over there and do some fun cooking. That's what I was getting back to. I was going to make, because this is also good for the fall, because we're watching football games. We're having all this game season on the television, you know, soccer games, what have you. It's game time, right? So I'm making, and it's so typical here in our area and lots, is rotel dip with meat in it, with sausage. And Blake makes that quite often for their family, and he got that. I always made cheese dip and I left the meat out, but his grandmother, my first mother-in-law, Velda Gates, she always made rotel dip with the cooked sausage in it, and he really liked that from his Mama Velda. And so I thought I would do that. We're gonna make that, and the little smokies that you do with grape jelly and chili sauce, and you just dump little smoky sausages into a crock pot. That's been around since I was in junior high. I remember my cousin Charlene and I, we would make those all the time to take to youth group gatherings, because you could just fill a big crock pot up and let them cook all day, and they're wonderful. And you just got little toothpicks and you eat these sausages. They're real good to go along with the cheese dip, the rotel cheese dip. But something that I haven't made with y'all before, I want to make with y'all over there. It is called pizza dip, and you cook it in a cast iron pan, and it's got all sorts of pizza things in it. And then you take some French bread and you cut them in slices, and I like to drizzle them with olive oil and toast them a little bit, and then they're nice little dippers to go in this pizza dip. Doesn't that sound good? And it would be wonderful for a game day as well. So I want to do that video with y'all. I sure do. And I'll probably do the others because they're so easy. But we've got all the holidays coming up. We're going to start with Halloween, right, where we take the kiddos out. And kiddos these days, Addie and I were talking about Halloween the other day. She's like, how did it get started? So I started explaining to her that in the old country, you put out treats to keep demons and ghouls and goblins and all that away. She just looked at me. I was like, I know, this is based on a real horrifying holiday that really doesn't amount to anything, and that's not what we do here. It's our kids here are just like, hey, it's time to dress up and get some candy. They think of it as a fun, good time, and so we love to call it Fall Festival. I remember our church that I grew up in with my whole family. I was so fortunate. I grew up in a church with my grandmother, grandfather, all my aunts and uncles, every one of my cousins. It was awesome. Or maybe not every one of my cousins, but a whole lot of them, okay? And it was awesome. And I really felt like, it's easy to take that for granted. And not only that, some of the best Sunday school teachers, people that are still in my life, still going to that church. And it was like you went to church every Sunday. It was like a little family reunion. Not just your church family, but literally your blood family too. It was just awesome. And I didn't know I was taking it for granted, because I didn't realize how fortunate I was until I moved up here with John, and I don't have that anymore, but you can make your own church family. But it was wonderful to grow up with the whole family there on Sunday. It was awesome. The little kids, I remember my cousin Charlene, if she got tired of sitting with her mama, she would crawl under the pews to go sit with her grandmother, which was my grandmother's sister, and they were sitting side by side. Aunt Evelyn and my grandmother Alora. So it was just awesome. I'm telling you, it was awesome. And I sit in church today, and I've been in many churches here since I moved to this parish with John, and you do not see that anymore. You see it very little. Like, you might see a mother there with some children, or a father there with some children, or a grandmother there with some children, but you don't see all the aunts and uncles and all the mamas and daddies and the cousins all sitting together like that. I'm sure there's some out there, and please write me if there is, because that was a wonderful, wonderful feeling. It was great, and I guess it goes along with the times, but it's just sad. It's just really sad to see us all struggling what little bit of us out of the family can get to church. And it just makes me really thank God for my childhood growing up in church like that. My mama and daddy weren't always going, but I began to drive, or either we had grandparents picking us up or someone taking us to church always. And so it was good. Like I say, a whole church family will take care of the kiddos in there, and it was awesome. Yes, it was. Y'all see how long I have to sit at the bus stop? Blake told me, he said, if you don't get there by 3:50, sometimes they'll call, won't know where you are. I was like, oh my goodness. So I get here at 3:40. And it's 4:05 right now, but that's okay. I'm here. I'm waiting on them. They're not waiting on me. So that's the right thing to do, right? Yes. But anyway, I do want to make that piece of dip with y'all, and I think all of us can enjoy that during game time. And I need to do I need to make some playlists, because that corn dip I make for John during hunting season, that'll come just in a few weeks. Or Thanksgiving week, I make it for him in the beginning because he loves to deer hunt, and he didn't even get to last year. But I still made him the corn dip. But that would be good for game day. It's wonderful. And I make a caviar with just beans and stuff. I don't remember. It's whatever state you live in. Texas caviar, Louisiana caviar, Mississippi caviar, Arkansas caviar. But anyway, it's a good one. And so there's lots that I have. But yeah, it's time for game season. I love game season because it seems like people do get together a lot in families and watch them together. And that's always been fun times. It sure has. Very fun times. But I'm going back originally, I'm always praying for y'all, and I'm asking y'all to please pray for my family, because it really seems like Satan is just hammering down on us, and just because that's what happens to Christians, especially if I'm trying to get on here and read the Bible with y'all. It seems like just things go berserk. Do y'all use the word berserk? Oh, goodness. Well, I'm going to get off here. I don't want it to last forever and a day. I could stay on here with y'all 24/7. I really could. Today is actually Friday, so when I pick the grandbabies up, I'm going to run them to their house and let them change clothes and get a snack, and then they want to come out to the house. And Bryson loves to come out to the house and ride his daddy's four-wheel. Blake left his four-wheeler out there because Bryson just loves to ride it, and Blake did that when he was a boy. He was 9 when we got him his first four-wheeler, and he would come home from school. His question to me all year would be like, how much more daylight do we have? Because he would ride till dark. And you know, before time change, you got more daylight when you first start school, and then it gets slower and slower. So I say, okay, Blake, it gets dark now at so-and-so. And he would ride and ride, and I could raise my window in the kitchen. We lived in a double wide at that time, and my kitchen window faced the woods behind us where he would ride, where we have pastures and cows now. It was just woods. His papa had some of it pastured off with cows in it, but he had grown old, and at that time he was, not farming anymore. He was still alive, but so anyway, I could listen through that kitchen window. I'd be cooking supper, and I could listen every few minutes, and I could hear that four-wheeler moving, and I knew he was okay. If I didn't hear the four-wheeler, or if I didn't hear it moving, then I knew he wasn't okay. So I thought, and so I was always listening, always, making sure, as long as I could hear him riding, that he was okay. So that's what I do. And I loved it because the weather was cooler, and I could have that window up while I was cooking. It reminded me of being at my grandmother Ray's house, because she always had windows up. She had no central air or heat. She had gas heat, but we had to turn it off at night. If we spent the night there, y'all tell me this, if y'all have done this. If we spent the night at my mama Ray's house, my papa, he was big on conserving energy, okay? Not paying a lot of bills, high bills. So at night, when you went to bed, you turned the little space heaters on the floor. They were gas. You turned them off. And so it would begin to get really cold. They lived in a wood frame house. Well, my cousin Michelle and I, we would want to stay up late. Like my papa went to bed after the evening news. He would watch the weather, eat his supper that had to be on the table, hot, in serving bowls with hot cornbread. I've watched my grandmother test peas in a bowl on the table, and they're getting a little too cool. I've watched her take them back, pour them back in the pot, heat them back up until he finished watching that weather, and go put them back out on the table. Like literally, she would walk back and forth making sure his meal was hot. And I used to just think, as a young granddaughter, wow, and that hot cornbread, I've seen her keeping it on the stove, sliding it back in that oven, making sure it was hot before she turned it out on that plate for him to eat. But anyway, he would go to bed right after that. My grandmother would stay up. She'd clean up the kitchen, and then she would go to bed a little while after that as well. But when he went to bed, the heat went off. So Michelle and I, we want to stay up. We're granddaughters, and we're spending the night over there for the weekend. So we want to stay up late. We'd at least stay up till midnight or so, and play in one of the bedrooms, which happened to be our mother's bedroom that they grew up in. And so that was neat. There we were in there playing. So anyway, it would start to get really, really, really cold. Well, she and I were growing up in a house with heat, central heat, and it got to stay on at night. So we were not used to being that cold, which did bother us while we were up. We just put on house coats and socks and whatever. But when we went to bed, the bed was just freezing cold to slide down in. So we would get quilts. My grandmother had quilts all in the closet, just stacked up. We would literally stack so many quilts on that bed that it felt like we were weighted down, laying under them. Like we thought if we had so many stacked up that it would be warmer. And once you got under there, and you really did warm up under there, it was nice and warm. But yeah, and of course, that to me, that was a good memory. We loved it. And so at her house, if I was in the kitchen with her, she was the one I would watch all the time cook, because she was all the time cooking. And she's who I learned a lot of my techniques from, or things, that she cooked or how to do it. She's the one I learned a lot from, I guess, say first, And so we'd be in her kitchen, and that food, you could smell it. It smelled so good. Or if we were out in the yard and that kitchen window was up, it just came wafting out into the yard, and it smelled so good. It was so comforting. So anyway, when my window's up in the kitchen and it's a cool evening, I always think of my mama, and it makes me think. I used to think of that when I was a young mother and listening for Blake writing, but now Bryson's wanting to do that. It's sort of therapeutic, to get on something writing off by yourself, it's very nice. It's a nice thing to do. It sure is. And we're very thankful that we have the woods to do that, and that my boys grew up on it, and now my grandboys are growing up on it. So it's really, really nice. And our grandkids grow up like that, don't they? They grow up faster than our kids did. My kids grew up really fast, and my grandbabies are growing up even faster. So anyway, that's what we're doing. I'm going to bring them back to the house and let them ride, do whatever they want to do. And I think Addie's going to spend the night with me, because she and I are going to go get some fall clothes for her. And that's about it. And of course, church is Sunday, and I'm always thankful for Sundays, because we just go to church and we eat lunch and we take a nap and we literally rest, because God made that day for us, right? He didn't need to rest, but He made that day for us to rest. And we need it. We need it, don't we? I agree. We sure do. And I'm very thankful that He gave that to us. So anyway, y'all, I'm here. Just want to encourage you to, if you don't have a study Bible, get you one and spend that one-on-one time with God and you. Because if you're just listening to me read the Bible, that's great. And I listen, like, for instance, we go to church, and I've listened to so many good preachers. Robbie Lawson is our pastor, and he comes, and he is always so good at giving God's message. He's so good at it. And we're on Facebook. A lot of you have tuned in and are still, Brenda, I'm thinking about you in particular, and a lot of you are, though. And so, yeah, Robbie, I love it. He's feeding me a message from God, but that's not my one-on-one time with God. So I do that every morning with my coffee and my Bible, and usually my chickens. This morning, my chicken, one of them wouldn't leave me alone. America, she kept wanting more bread. She's so silly and rotten. And so anyway, I just want to encourage you to just do that one-on-one time with God, because that's very important in our life. That's when we actually get guided and form a relationship. And I've also got a dear friends of ours, like family, Alec and Dee Nygard. Right now they've got a brand new grandbaby, their first, so they are just in la la land this weekend. I'm so happy for them. But we went to his church as well. He and John worked together for years out the chicken plant. I used to joke and say they spent more nights together than John and me, because they worked straight graveyard for years. And so they did spend more nights together than John and me. But he also pastored at his childhood church for years, and we went there listening to him some years back. But we all raised our kids together, and so they're like family to us. But he would say this a lot of times in his sermon. He would say, even if you're mad at God, talk to Him and tell Him about it, because at least you're talking to God. And he also would say, he's a big boy, he can take it. And I always loved that. I was like, yeah, Alec, that's a great thing. I love that. So anyway, that's what I'm saying today. I'm going to pass on Alec's words and say, even if you're just angry, or you haven't in a while, just start it. Just do it, and at least you're going to be starting a relationship with God and talking to Him, and it'll go from there, and it will grow from there, right? Okay, y'all, I am going to get off here, so y'all won't be like Amy's, just rattling on, because I could do that forever. Y'all are keeping me company, so I'm not hearing my own thoughts, and when I do get in my own thoughts, I start praying.